Dismissed as primitive storytellers, humans spoke and half the galaxy cried. The galactic cultural exchange was meant to be a formality. Ambassador Zixtai of the Caraxian Empire had attended dozens of these ceremonies where newly contacted species would present their cultural contributions to the galaxy. Most were predictably primitive. Crude musical arrangements, simplistic visual arts, or at best elementary mathematical concepts already known for millennia. The humans had been discovered 3 cycles ago, a young species barely capable of interstellar travel. Their technology was laughably outdated, their military insignificant, and their scientific achievements unremarkable. The Galactic Council had granted them the standard probationary membership, expecting little more than mining rights and basic trade agreements. Next, we have the human delegation, announced Coordinator Veltar, her bioluminescent patches flickering with barely concealed boredom. They will present their storytelling tradition. A ripple of amused chittering passed through the assembled delegates. The Jelkari's crystalline forms chimed in harmonic mockery, while the Vorthon representatives exchanged knowing glances through their multifaceted eyes. Storytelling. How quaint. Even the most primitive civilizations had stories. Ambassador Zixtai settled his massive frame into the observation alcove, preparing to endure another tedious display. His species had transcended the need for such emotional primitives eons ago. The Caraxians dealt in facts, data, and cold logic. Stories were for children and undeveloped minds. The human representative stepped forward. A small, unremarkable biped named Dr. Sarah Chen. She carried no technological devices, no holographic projectors, no neural interface equipment, just herself and her voice. Honored delegates, she began, her words translated instantly through the universal communication matrix. We bring you something our species has carried since we first gathered around fires in caves. We bring you the story of Arya and the last song. What followed defied every expectation in the chamber. Dr. Chen spoke of a young girl on a dying world, where the sun was slowly cooling and all life faced extinction. But this Arya possessed a voice that could resonate with the fundamental frequencies of matter itself. As her planet froze, she sang, not to save herself but to preserve the memories of her people in the quantum foam of space-time. The story was simple in its structure, yet impossibly complex in its emotional architecture. Dr. Chen wove themes of sacrifice, love, loss, and hope with such precision that Ambassador Zixtai found his logical processing centers struggling to categorize what he was experiencing. The Jelkari had stopped their mocking chimes. Their crystalline bodies were resonating in perfect synchronization with the human's voice patterns. The Vorthon delegates' compound eyes were tracking not the speaker, but something invisible in the air around her, as if they could see the emotions themselves taking shape. As the story progressed, Arya's song became a bridge between the living and the dead, between what was and what could be. She sang her world's love songs to preserve them, its lullabies to comfort future generations who would never know their origin, its war chants to remind the universe that her people had fought bravely against the dying of the light. Ambassador Zixtai felt something unprecedented happening in his consciousness. His species' emotional dampeners, installed at birth to ensure logical purity, were unfluctuating. Data streams that had flowed orderly for centuries began forming patterns he couldn't recognize. When Dr. Chen described Arya's final song, how she poured her own life force into one last melody that would carry her world's essence to the stars, something impossible occurred. Ambassador Zixtai felt moisture gathering in his optical sensors. He wasn't alone. Across the chamber, beings from dozens of species were experiencing similar phenomena. The aquatic Murdani were changing colors in patterns never recorded in their species' history. The energy-based Kulvaran were flickering between frequencies in obvious distress. Most shocking of all, 3 eternal ones, ancient beings who hadn't shown emotion in millennia, were producing harmonics that could only be described as weeping. The story concluded with Arya's voice joining the cosmic background radiation, her songs becoming part of the universe's fundamental structure. Every star would carry her melodies. Every planet would echo with her world's memories. And somewhere in the quantum realm, love itself had been made immortal. The silence that followed lasted exactly 47 seconds. Ambassador Zixthai knew because his chronometer was the only system still functioning normally. Then Coordinator Veltar spoke, her voice uncharacteristically subdued. The Galactic Council will need to reconvene, immediately. In the cycles that followed, everything changed. The humans' cultural status was elevated to unprecedented levels. Species that had existed for millions of years lined up to hear more human stories. Wars ended because opposing forces couldn't fight while processing narratives about redemption. The Jelkari restructured their entire society around human narrative frameworks. Ambassador Zixthai found himself returning again and again to Earth, no longer as a diplomatic observer but as something he never thought possible, a student. He learned that humans called their stories science fiction, fantasy, mythology, and literature. But what they truly were, he now understood, were blueprints for possibility, maps of the soul, and technologies for experiencing existence beyond the limitations of a single perspective. The galaxy had dismissed humans as primitive storytellers. They discovered instead that humans were architects of empathy, engineers of emotion, and the universe's most sophisticated developers of meaning itself. In the end, half the galaxy didn't just cry, they learned how to dream.